Got a very important masterclass topic today, which is how to scale yourself out of this business. How to scale yourself out of this business. Got a really good one, y'all, and I'm really excited about this one. I think if there's been any masterclass you should be participating in, watching, and implementing, this is probably going to be one of the more important ones because we've got a lot to cover today in a little bit of time. I'm going to try to get this all done in the next 45 minutes to 50 minutes. Leave you guys with a framework and an action plan by the end of this that you know how to implement it and the steps you need to take to build a business just like this. A little bit of context about why this works and the system. In any given week, you can ask Terry, you can ask Trace, you can ask people on the team. I probably spend about 3 hours a week on my business, right? Inside of our program that I work with people to help them stand up this side of the business, like I make phone calls and I help people negotiate deals and stuff like that. Really is just a trick, just as to show people like, hey, this is how to do it. But I don't do that actively in my business anymore. I have someone that does that for me. Why? Because I don't have the time to do it, right? If I could spend ideally 3 hours a week on my business, that's the best. Like this week, I had an hour and a half meeting on Monday, which is not normal. Normally it's about a 30-minute meeting and it's just more like checking in kind of stuff. But you can absolutely build a business just like this. And it should be the North Star. You shouldn't be the procuring cause. You shouldn't be the only person having to run your business. And the lesson that I learned, what I'm going to be teaching with you guys here today on like how to actually build this model out, it comes from like really like my childhood. The reason why I wanted to build this, like, you know, to make this actually possible is like I grew up, my family, they own business. They were in the restaurant business. So like literally, if you guys don't know, the restaurant business is basically like having your whole life is attached to that thing unless you find a way to get out of it. Like growing up, my parents' family, like they were always in the restaurant. Like there would be many days where we're up at school till like 7 o'clock at night because they're at the restaurant, you know, getting rides, having to figure it out. And I just learned and I saw that happen growing up. Like my mom, my stepdad, they did not have a life outside of the business. And I'm like, man, well, number one, it made me hate the restaurant business, but also made me realize more than anything that you gotta be able to build something that doesn't require for you to be there all the time. Because anytime they took a step away from their business, and maybe this is where your business is right now, anytime they took a step away, something would happen. They made the least amount of money. They had people stealing from them, had things coming up that was like, what in the world? Like we weren't planning on this. And they were afraid to go anywhere. They were literally like handcuffed to the business. And I never wanted to do that. Now, don't get me wrong. There's seasons in your business where you have to do that. You have to put in the work. You have to lay the foundation. And sometimes you look up and say, it doesn't feel like anything is happening. You don't feel like you're getting any traction. You don't feel like you're getting anywhere. I promise you, those are the moments. Those seasons have to happen to be able to set up a business like this. So maybe what I talk about here today, you're not there yet, right? What I talk about here today is like, hey, I am a little ways away from that, but at least it gives you something to build. And when I go through this framework, you're going to see like you want to build your business with the end in mind. You want to be thinking about these things as you go to build this out. Okay, so let's rock and roll. Let's do this thing. This is what we're going to be discussing here today. Okay, the three core problems. The three core problems when it comes to trying to scale yourself out of your business. Who here has heard other people talk about you need to scale your business? This is how you scale your business. They're typically talking about lead generation. They're normally talking about like how to get more deals, but that's not scaling. Scaling is just another word for optimizing, right? We need to optimize our business. We need to have systems. We need to have things in place to where as we go to build this thing out, the foundation is laid for somebody else to come in and help us. Right? I promise you, like if you have the toxic trait that I have, which is nobody can do it as good as me, then this is a hard lesson to learn. And this is one that I have to continue to learn over and over and over again. Right? But what we're going to be going over today is those three core problems, right? Number one, the business revolves around the owner to make money. Okay. So one of the biggest challenges that I know I had trying to actually make this possible, and I've done this a few times, is that I would consistently throw myself back into the problem. I would consistently put myself back in the place where I was the only reason why we were making any money. And I would almost take the responsibilities of the people that were working with me and be like, I'll just do it myself. Has anyone ever done that? Or is it just me? Well, that happens a lot. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about having no operating systems as another core problem. I know a lot of people say, what's interesting is there's so many business owners, not just even in the real estate world, that have been running a business for years, like years and years, and they don't have an operating system. They just know that they make more money than they lose every month, and that's how they're staying in business. No real system. So we're going to be talking about the system that we use today and how to actually implement that. And then the third core problem is the bottleneck around decisions and growth. If you're the reason all decisions go through you, all, ideas go through you. It was interesting. I saw Alex Ramosi posted something today. I was like, man, this is actually really interesting around like making decisions in your business. Like oftentimes I know I have been guilty of this, looking at shiny objects and then making new decisions for the team. Like we're not performing on something. And then I'm like, oh, let's go do this. Let's go try this. Let's go try that. And every time we make a change to the system, there was always a drop off. There was always a drop off in performance, a drop off in money every time I try to make a change. And it's like, was that change, like, was the upside there? Or should I just leave people alone and let them do their job? Because they're going to get better as they do it. And that's basically what he talked about too. He said every time he made a change in his business, they would lose 20% efficiency, 20% just to try to get a small increase. So you have to start weighing out the cost and benefits. So again, if you're making decisions and you're the bottleneck around this and you're consistently changing up your game plan and changing up the way you do things, well, that's going to take your revenue for a roller coaster ride. Okay. So we're going to talk about that here today. Cool. What's up, Booker? What up, baby? What's going on, Corey? If you guys don't know, Corey signed his first deal this past week. So shout out to Mr. Corey. We got Q in the house. Let's go. We got Q in the house. Joe says, can you please show your new AI SMS response inside of Go High Level? Joe, you're asking, this is KFC. You asking Colonel Sanders for the recipe, big dog. I love it. Elmer, what's going on, man? What's going on? All right, you guys. Sorry, it's a crazy week because we got Mastermind literally here next Thursday. So many people are coming into town. So we've been gearing up for that. I got some cool things that we're giving out to everybody that's going to be in attendance. So if you're in Phoenix, you need to come through. But yeah, Corey got his first deal. How cool is that? All right. Anyways, back to the game plan here. So now, if the business revolves, like let's tackle each core problem, and I'm gonna give you guys a system behind this to actually like carry this whole plan out. Okay. So if the business revolves around the owner to make money, that is because you are responsible. So specifically within our business model, if you want to scale and optimize your real estate investing business to pull yourself out of it, where's the money being made? Where's the money being made? Well, I'll tell you right now, when we do our lead generation with agents, number one, first and foremost, we must be able to get leads. So if you don't have a virtual assistant, which is so worth it, if you could pay somebody $4 an hour, ask anybody here in the chat watching this right now, if they have a virtual assistant, was that a good decision for you to get a virtual assistant? And I just candidly put it in the chat. If you had a virtual assistant, you've been doing the agent model with a virtual assistant, was that a good decision? You don't even have to like say, yes, Matt was the best decision. Honestly, okay? Because I'm going to tell you, in my honest opinion, 100% is worth it. $4 an hour, absolutely, okay? So that is just one way to not have to be the procuring cause behind making money, because what happens a lot in this model is this becomes the busy work, categorizing these leads. You guys know from our text output, there's so many responses that come in. And yes, we have AI coming in to being able to take a lot of those responses off your plate, because what happens, guys, is we reach out to agents and we say, hey, do you have anything coming up that needs some work? Well, naturally, people are going to respond and make sure things. Who are you? What is this about? No, I don't have anything. Yes, I do. Blah, blah, blah. No, leave me alone. Somebody's got to respond to those people. We actually have an AI bot that's going to be implemented in the next week inside of our system that's going to be able to take a lot of those responses and just handle them for us, which is awesome. But still, somebody's got to be there to kind of categorize and then pick up the phone. Okay. So where do you make money in this? If you're the procuring cause, you're the bottleneck, you're the person that makes all the money in your business, really where you come into play is this right here. So time and time again, when it comes to scaling this model, if the entrepreneur or the business owner is so busy that they cannot pick up the phone and they can't call and negotiate a deal, well, then you're not going to have a business. And I also see the people that do probably the best in real estate. Okay, the people who are doing like, I just look across the board, the people in the program that are doing the best, that are making 80, 70, 70, 80, 90, $100,000 a month. Well, they're very disciplined. They know sales. They know how to talk to people. If you are not a salesperson, or if you don't know how to negotiate deals, or if you have not refined this skill yet, and you're like, I'm just not that guy. I don't want to pick up the phone. I'm going to find someone else to do it. I promise you, there is no business existing right now. Maybe eventually with AI, with tech, but eventually you got to sell that to your investors to raise money. You have to learn how to be able to sell. Selling is not like persuading somebody to do something bad. It is being able to communicate your thoughts, being able to get somebody to believe what you believe because they believe it. You have to be able to communicate with people to get anywhere. So real estate is no different. You have to be able to develop the skill. And like naturally for me, this didn't exist. I had to learn this. I had to get on the phone. I had to start talking to people. I had to overcome my fear behind it. But I promise you, if I had not got gotten decently good at talking to people, I would have made no money. I would have been out of this business. But imagine getting good at that skill and you are the only way you make money in your business. If you got leads coming in and you're responsible for making these phone calls, you're responsible for negotiating, closing your deals, then yes, it's impossible to scale that. Eventually, you will need to get some help right here in the form of a lead manager. I'll be talking about this in operating systems here in just a minute, but the biggest piece to actually make this possible, again, is eventually you will slowly scale your way out of being responsible for this. But if you cannot do that in the beginning, and in fact, you probably shouldn't, you need to develop this skill, you got to get repetitions in. And normally, okay, guys, normally the only way to get these repetitions in is to have a tremendous amount of lead flow at the top, okay? If you're only sending 50 text messages in a week, or you only have 5 leads coming in a week, it's going to take forever to get good at this, okay? But if you want to get good at anything, no matter what it is, you just need more exposure. You need more time. And one of the fastest ways to do that is volume. Volume negates experience and skill. Okay. So that's one of the biggest lessons here behind this. So if you are stuck here and the business revolves around you to make money, well, first and foremost, you have to get more volume, right? So I'm going to put volume negates experience and skill. Okay. So first step is you get volume and get good at the thing. There's no way around this. You have to get good at it. And if you try to hire somebody that doesn't have that skill, or, you try to hire somebody, but hey, will you help me call my leads? And when you don't know how to do it, it's like, and I say this, it's like the blind leading the blind. Okay. I've seen it time and time again where I have people come in and they want to like out-system the work, right? Can't do that yet. We have to get good at this. So you have to get the volume in this specific area before you can scale it. But I promise you, if you just expose yourself for like 3 months, like 90 days of actually doing it, you will be able to hire somebody to do this job. And you will know exactly what you're looking for. Take Esteban in here, for example, right? Esteban, he's in here right now. Esteban, how has it been going through the, like getting a lead manager in your business? Were you the one making the phone calls in the beginning, right? Esteban was the lead manager and the closer. And in the beginning, he was actually responsible for getting leads. So the first thing he did was got a virtual assistant to help him with this. But you take this as an order of importance, right? So first things first is lead gen. Once you check that off the list, great. Okay, how can you eventually remove yourself from being the only person that's making money in your business? Well, you get the volume in the thing that is probably the most important thing. And I will say, yeah, Esteban says all the time. So like, he was like, I'm scared. I feel like I'm giving the responsibility of making money in my business to somebody else. And it is scary in the beginning, but he only got to that place where he could do that by getting the repetitions in. Okay. So this is probably like key number 1. You got to do it. You have to get good at this. Like there's no way around it, right? It's like trying to become a brain surgeon or something and being like, well, I read all the books. And people are like, well, yeah, you're going to need to practice on it. Like, I don't want to do that. Well, then you're never going to become a brain surgeon. You got to practice no matter what you read in the book. Okay. Still working on building the skill of my lead manager. Exactly. And it comes in time, right? But first and foremost, you got good at it. But you also realize that, hey, if I'm not managing these leads and I decide to take a week off, or I want to go on vacation, or I want to take a weekend off, or I want to go work on other things, the whole business folds. So you can't do that until you're able to find someone to do that role. And before you can find someone to do that role, you must get good at it first and foremost, right? So this is the reason why in this model, what I already mentioned before is I'm gonna put this here, build with the end in mind, okay? So I don't want anyone to just have a high paying job. I can almost make anyone in real estate a bunch of money doing deals. If you can talk on the phone and you have just a little bit of ambition, you can make a lot of money in real estate. That's not the hard part, right? But where people get, and I have friends that have been in real estate since I got into it back in like 2018, so it ain't even been that long. I have people still doing the same thing. My friends and other people in the network, why do they keep get thrusted into the same position? Because the money is good and you get good at a skill and it's almost like everything else stops, right? But for me, I didn't get into real estate because I love closing deals. Closing deals was a byproduct of my first goal, which was I wanted to make a bunch of money. And then after I got good at that skill, I wanted to get that off my plate as soon as I possibly could because I wanted to go do other things. Okay. So what happens is oftentimes you get good at something and it rewards you with money, but that reward is really just golden handcuffs, right? For anyone in here that's good at sales, you know what I'm talking about. You always put yourself in that position, but it's not the highest and best use. Like you could be the best of the best, but you put yourself in an opportunity vehicle that's pretty much capped on your time. If you're not closing, then you ain't making money. So what happens is first, like you don't want, there used to be a saying that we used to have when I was with Cody and we did this like MLM company. It's like, you don't want to be a king. You want to be the king maker, right? And that still rings true when it comes to like hiring people and bringing people on to help. Like first and foremost, you develop yourself, you get good at it, and then you make somebody else amazing. You have to be able to transfer that skill to someone else. You got to be able to teach someone exactly what you need them to do. So in order to scale yourself out of this business and you're the one who's making all the money, well, you build with the end in mind. And the way you do this, okay, is you record everything you do. You record everything from the way that you operate inside of your system that we're going to talk about here in a second. The way, what you say on the phone. Guys, I have Fathom Note Taker on my Google Meet, and it's like the best. I wish I would have had it forever. And like, I don't know why I didn't have it for like months and months and months. Like it literally records everything that I say. It records how the entire meeting went with anybody that I talked to. And it puts these nice little notes in together and it shoots it into my CRM at the end of the day, right? Imagine that you did that at the macro level and the micro level at every call that you made. If you knew exactly what you needed to do, you're getting your volume, you're getting your repetitions in, and you're recording everything that you do. What do you say? How do you say it? How do you categorize leads? How do you tag leads? Everything needs to be recorded because you're building something and saying, hey, look, I want to do this and I want to do it so many times that yes, I get good at it, but I also know the exact process behind exactly what I wanted to do. So then I can just give this to someone else. They don't need to guess. They don't need to figure it out. I've already done it. In fact, I've done it hundreds of times and this is exactly what I need them to do. And the only way I know that is because I've recorded and documented everything. Okay. There's a system behind this. It's called Doragi. I'll talk about that here in just a minute. But if you are the sole money maker in your business, you first have to get the skill of being good at making money, period. And then that skill is almost, I don't know if anyone in here has read The Alchemist, but like in the book, The Alchemist, you know, he's on his like this journey from being a shepherd to finding this gold that he had a dream about. And on this journey of him, like basically trying to find this metaphorical gold, basically in this book, he travels away from his homeland into a foreign land. And he goes from having no money, the money that he had got stolen away from him. He had nothing. And this old man gave him a job at this, this glass shop. And he started working there and he started making some money again. And he was just cleaning the glass. He got good at it. And then somewhere along the way, he remembered what he was actually doing. Like he got stopped, and like it happens to us all the time in our life. Like on our journey, we had this initial goal in mind, and somewhere along the way, we decide to settle somewhere, right? Somewhere along the way, we forget what the heck we even started for in the first place. I know I did this. And like, it's kind of crazy once you recognize it and you're like, what in the world am I doing? This was never the goal. So like, that's what you have to remind yourself once you learn the skill to be able to close. And now you're making $10,000 a month, and that may change your life. Or maybe it's $20,000 a month. Maybe it's $30,000 a month. And you're like, I'm good at this. Well, yeah, this is going to be your golden handcuffs unless you remember what you started for in the first place. So if you build with the end in mind, you remember, I'm building this to be a business, not a high paying job. I want this to be a business that makes 6 figures a month or 7 figures a year or whatever the goal may be. And then with that being the goal, if that truly is your goal and you don't want to just high paying job, then you want to do this. This is very important. I got stuck in my business for probably about 2 years that I wasted time because I just got good at sales. And then that was what I did day in and day out. I just talked to people, negotiated deals, and it was fun. You get the adrenaline rush of getting a contract and making money and cashing a check. And then I look up, I'm like, man, I haven't gone anywhere. I've been solving the same problem in my life for like 2 years, for like 24 months straight. Has anyone ever felt that way? But yeah, Fathom Note Taker, Esteban. So like that was just one of the many things. And like you can get other softwares that record your video calls, your voice calls and everything. But that was just like one of the easiest, like boom, easy hack. Like why haven't I done this sooner? And it like puts everything in place for you in just a nice way. So you want to build with the end in mind and you want to document your processes. And ideally, guys, you don't want to reinvent the wheel. Okay. You want to be able to take something that is like, hey, I know this works. I've seen it work, but like, I'm also going to refine this specifically for me. But first things first, in this model, if you look at the KPIs again, right over here, in this model, this needs to be outsourced as fast as you possibly can. Even if you've never done a deal, if you're the one learning the system, responding to tech, it's going to be so inconsistent. And I'm not saying that because I have a VA company. I do have a VA company. I don't care where you guys go to get a virtual assistant. It could be anybody. It can be a mom. It could be your mom. It could be your dad. It could be a family member. It could be anybody. Get someone to help you respond to your leads, because that's the only way you could focus on the one skill that you have to develop to make this business consistent, which is the ability to talk to people and close deals. The faster you can start getting repetitions in there, the faster you start making money today, And the faster you start building out your processes on the back end to be able to give this to somebody else. Does that make sense, you guys? You guys following me on this one? Cool. So that is when you're the only person making money in your business. Okay. You document everything and you implement a system. Now, they kind of go hand in hand because all these problems kind of exist together and they're one massive bottleneck, which typically comes down to the owner. But let's talk about having no operating systems. So if you have an operating system, everything that you record specifically relates to the system and it makes everything nice and clean. So when it comes to not having an operating system, the first thing that you have to do when it comes to putting together some sort of system, now again, you guys are in here, I talk a lot about the agent system, talk a lot about the agent model, so y'all know that game, but like regardless of whatever you decide to do, the first thing that you have to do is you have to define your goal outcome. What are we trying to do? And if I've talked to any of you guys on the phone or on Google Meets or whatever, you know I ask this like every time in the beginning, what are we trying to build? And the reason why that's so like near and dear to my heart was because it cost me $78,000 to go get a personal coach whenever I was making, we had the virtual assistant company, I had the real estate investing business. And I'm like, why am I not happy? Why am I unfulfilled? Where else can I grow? What else could I do? And I paid a coach $78,000 for a year to basically tell me this, Matt, do you feel like you just need to be busy? And I was like, yeah, I do. It's like, do you think your wife would care if you worked 3 extra hours and you weren't around your kids? Do you think your son would be like, yay, Dad, I'm so happy you worked an extra 3 hours today? It's like, no. He's like, so who are you really doing it for? And I was like, I'm doing it for me, I guess. And that changed the way I approach everything that I do in my life. I was like, I decided to get off my butt when my wife told me she was pregnant with our first son. And I'm like, I'm tired of being broke or having a little bit of money. I'm going to bust my tail and that money would never be a problem ever again. I'm going to bust my tail. And along that journey, I started doing things because it was like, oh, this makes me money. This makes me money. This makes me money. But I lost what I started for in the first place, which was I want to be a good dad. I want to be a good husband. I want to have a life where when I'm done doing the master classes at the end of the day and I'm done having my calls with you guys or inside of the group when I do my live calls, when that's over with and it's 6:00, you can't reach me. Don't try to text me. Don't try. Like I'm spending time with the family unless it's like 10:00 at night when everybody goes to sleep and I start doing a little bit more, right? But like, that's it. Right. So that was my goal outcome. So first and foremost, when I'm trying to build a business or anybody's like, what are we trying to build? Is this something where we want to build a business that there's a certain income goal? If we reach that income goal, that's the first milestone. Hey, if I make $10,000 a month, that replaces my 9 to 5. That puts me home with my family, or that gives me freedom to go around the world. I'm single and I just want to go have freedom to go do the things that I want to do. I can go visit my mom or visit my dad or whatever it is. Cool. Well, let's get that done first, right? And then what's next? What happens after that? What happens when, like, imagine you have that money in your bank account every single month. Okay, then what, right? What's the next thing? What are we trying to do? Like, we want to spend more time with our family. Do we want to have more freedom? What are we trying to build? So we first have to define our goal out when we're trying to build our business. So if I'm like, hey, if I can make, and the reason why this is so important is because the operating system supports the goal, right? We don't rise to our goal ever. That doesn't happen. We only fall to the level of our systems, but we have to set the goal first before we can set the systems to reach that goal. Does that make sense, you guys? Right? We don't rise to the goal. We fall to our systems. But the only way to reach that is we have to have the systems to get us there. But if we don't know where we're going, then we're going to get nowhere fast. Okay? We got to know at least we don't need to know what the furthest, like what my 10-year goals are. What's your 60-day goals? What's your year goal? What do you want to do this year? Or what would be like crazy if I look up and by December and if I've done this, that would be astonishing. Amazing. Let's put that down and let's put a system in place to make that true. Okay. So we first define our goals. If we're trying to scale ourselves out of our business, where the heck is our business trying to take us? Right. We should not be building our life around our business. Like I gave you guys the example of my family at the restaurant. We should be building our business around our life, because at the end of the day, what really matters? Who cares if you build $1 million business? At least that's the way I look at it. I just think about like my personal goal in it. Like my personal goal is to spend more time with my kids because they're the only ones going to care when I die anyways. So I want a business that can give me the money that I want to be able to make, to be able to do some cool things, partner with awesome people, teach people how to make life-changing money, but also be able to turn it off and spend time with the family, right? So we define that goal outcome first and foremost, okay? Then after we do that, the next step in this process is number 2, you pick a plan, okay? Pick a plan and stick with it. Now, this is where the shiny objects come in. Who's been in real estate longer than 2 weeks? You know what I'm talking about. There is so many ways to do real estate. People are doing syndications for multifamily. People are doing mobile home parks. People are doing single family flips. And then everybody always has the way. And they have a way of making you feel bad about whatever you're doing if you're not doing what they're doing. I promise you, everything in real estate has some shit related to it. Okay. Sorry for my language if you guys got kids listening. But seriously, no matter what it is, wholesaling single family homes, there's a lot of crap in that. Wholesaling multifamily homes, multifamily properties, there's a lot of crap in that. Syndicating big projects, there's a lot of crap in that. Everything has its own challenges. So we first start with, who do I know? What resources do I have? Time, money, relationships. And where can I experience my first wins? Because I have the most leverage. The main underlying theme behind this whole training, you guys, is the big L word, leverage. Okay. So if we're trying to figure out what plan makes the most sense for us, well, where do we have the most leverage? Today, where do I have my most knowledge? Is it in the single family world? Cool. That's helpful. We don't have to learn anything new. Great. Because we can apply leverage with knowledge and skills, right? In time. But great. Well, okay. Well, I got that. Cool. I've already learned some of this stuff. Now, where do I have maybe the most relationships? Single family world, multifamily world. Okay. I have the most knowledge in single family. I also know a lot of people doing single family relationship sides. That's easy wins there. Perfect. Well, maybe that's where I start, is just in the single family world. And you know what's crazy is like the fix and flippers make you feel bad about wholesaling. I tell you guys right now, I talk to fix and flippers every day on calls, and they are wanting to do more wholesale deals. You know why? Because it's just hard to fix and flip right now. They're like, you know what? I'd love to be able to do a couple more wholesale deals. I've never done one. It's like, well, welcome to what happened to you being like, oh, wholesalers suck. Guys, no matter what you're doing, there's always going to be somebody trying to paint the picture that the grass is greener on the other side. But there's a lot of crap that that nourishes that ground to make that grass so green. So each side has its own craps. We just got to pick a plan and we got to stick with it. So if you guys are doing the agent outreach model, there is crap that goes along with the agent outreach model. What does that look like? Where we talk to agents sometimes, and you know what? They play games. They took our offer to somebody else and we got in a bidding war. Or we talked to an agent and they said that we were going to be the only person. We put in our offer and then I haven't heard back from them. Or, I had to look at 40 properties and I haven't gotten a deal yet. Well, we're going to get a deal in 1 in 41 to 62. And shout out Nick, by the way. Nick, if you're here, thanks for posting your KPIs in the group. I thought that was very helpful. It's great to see how your KPIs align with other students. And I think they're like right in line. His average contract to deal was 18 and a half. And I think they had assignable revenue this month was like 62 grand or something like that. Was it 65? I forgot. But great to see that, right? Because it's just, that's what sticking to the plan looks like. Because 2 months ago, they reached out being like, man, I don't know how we're going to be able to get some more deals with these agents. What are we doing wrong? They stuck with the plan and boom, they start to reap the rewards because there's crap with everything, but you have to stick with it. Because I promise you, again, volume negates the skill. So if you haven't experienced your win yet, stick with it. So what you do is you pick one avatar and you go deep on that, right? So if I was like, hey, I'm only going to do foreclosures, right? Well, what happens to many people is they start doing foreclosures and then they start doing tire landlords and then they're like doing this and try to find motivated sellers. And then they're like, man, I'm getting nowhere fast. It's exactly what I did. I got my first deal door knocking foreclosures. The first thing I wanted to do was stop door knocking foreclosures. I'm like, this sucks. I'm going to take this 12 grand I made and I'm going to start calling these tire landlords. And guess what? I almost didn't have any business the next month with no deals. Went back to foreclosures, solely focused on that. All of a sudden, I started doing more deals. In the beginning, if we're trying to get any sort of traction, you pick one thing, you get good at it, and then you scale. So if you're picking the agent model that we talk about, well, the only way you're going to get a tremendous amount of traction on this is staying hyper-focused until it basically is its own living, breathing thing and it's making money every single month. Then we can start adding more stuff on top. The worst thing you can do in the beginning is try to do too much at once. Has anyone ever experienced that? Happens all the time, baby. Happens all the time. Okay. So you want to pick a plan and you want to stick with it. Okay. When it comes to operating systems. And then probably the next lesson here. Okay. The next lesson here is that you want to not reinvent the wheel. Okay. So what does the wheel look like? Well, here's the wheel. We have learned this from thousands and thousands and thousands of outreach. We've learned this from model to model, person to person. How can this be duplicated across multiple businesses, multiple avatars, multiple entrepreneurs in different markets across the country? Like this is what we have come up with. And I'll tell you guys right now, a lesson that I have learned in doing all of this is that, even like when I started like the YouTube channel and stuff, I'm like, oh, I'm going to do things different. I'm going to present this information this way. We're going to do these crazy challenges. Who remembers the crazy challenges? We've done all kind of stuff because it's always like, man, these big corporations are so out of touch. These big companies have been doing this, are so out of touch. What I have learned is my basically arrogance and naivety, or however you say that word. around just business in general, I have learned the lesson many times that there's a reason why the biggest companies and the biggest, people in our space that are making the most money, there's a reason why they've done it that way, because they probably have already had all the same ideas that I had, and they've learned along the way what actually makes sense to optimize around and what to make money on, right? So they don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to get like I'm going to take what Matt has and I'm going to do like 40 other things to it when you haven't even seen any results, because it's like, hey, I got better ideas. And that may be true, but there's probably a reason why it works the way that it works. And if you don't know the reason why things work a certain way, don't try to reinvent them. Just do what works. Who's ever learned that lesson? Or am I the only one? Corey says we need to bring those back. Corey, the only person that watched those crazy challenges were you. Hey, look, we had fun with them. Don't get me wrong. But we don't want to reinvent the wheel. All right. When it comes to it, if you stick to the plan, whether it's good. So some of you guys get your first deal in like a week and it's like, yo, oh my gosh, this is incredible. I love seeing the early wins. And some of you guys, it takes 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 weeks or 6 weeks. And you finally start to see it. It's like, oh my gosh, thank God I stuck with it. Like shout out to Jennifer, you guys. She's sending out her first offer. She's been doing this on her cell phone for 2 weeks. So Jennifer, I'm proud of you. Great work. But AQ's like, I watched too. So, but we don't want to reinvent the wheel. So when it comes to having something systemized, we don't want something that is just like so complicated. Imagine like, for example, if you're trying to live like a healthier life, okay, and you want to have better habits and you want to start, like me personally, I want to start losing weight to get back to the weight that I was at before I started real estate. Because I was a personal trainer. I just ran a half marathon in Sedona. I had ran 600 miles over 30 days. 2 months prior to that, really good shape. And then I started getting in real estate. I'm like, I need to make a bunch of money. And I stopped working out, did the whole thing. I'm like, all right, I got to get back in shape, right? Well, the quickest way to feel like a failure is to make things too complicated, right? Whenever my whole life revolved around going to the gym, I had 3 or 4 hours a day to go work out and go do like, I remember one Saturday I did like an 8-hour workout. It was like bike 20 miles, stair climb 10 miles. I ran 9 miles and did a bunch of other stuff. It was crazy. I don't have that kind of time anymore to do that. Just honestly, just don't. With family and the stuff that we're doing in business, I don't. I got to be more efficient. Things change. The game plan has to change. And if I start throwing in and make things way too complicated, I got to eat certain foods and I got to wake up at a certain time and I got to do this special routine and blah, blah, blah. Well, the one day that I fall off of that routine or I stop doing what the thing was, well, then I feel like a failure and I feel like I got to start all over. Has anyone ever like had a habit you stuck with for like 2, 3, 4 days or maybe even like 2, 3, 4 weeks? You fall off once or like for 2 straight days and you're like, oh my God. And then that turns into a slippery slope and you feel like you're back at the beginning. Has anyone ever done that or just me? Well, tell you, in business, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. When we're trying to set systems in place, they need to be simple. They need to be easy to implement and easy to follow. Because if they're complicated to you, imagine how complicated it would be to someone who's not as plugged in as you are, they don't know real estate as well as you know real estate, or coming to calls and learning this stuff. It becomes very complicated and no one can do it and then you can't scale it, right? That old classic saying, simple scales, fancy fails. This process is very, very simple. Okay. Doing the outreach. Yeah. Jennifer says, I'm still waiting for ATP approval. Got blocked from Apple 2 times, but she's still here, baby. She's still showing up and she's sending out her first offer. So like freaking awesome. But what I'm saying is this is very simple. We get our agents. Well, depending on what city, there's a method behind it, getting the lowest hanging fruit, doing all the stuff, but we pull our list and we start messaging people. We start texting them. It costs us a half a penny to send a text. Amazing. That's easy to do. It's easy to pull that list. It's easy to start texting them. The responses typically around getting addresses or how do I put people into these buckets? Very simple. I train a VA how to field those conversations. I mean, it's so simple that it's so systematic that we could train an AI bot to do it. And it sounds the exact same. And all we're doing is putting people into these buckets. Cool. Tier 1, 2, and 3. If you guys want more explanation on what the tiers are, there's another video for that. But basically, tier 3 is people who don't have any addresses, but they give us permission to follow up with them. Tier 1 are people who do have addresses, so we're actively working to deal with them. And tier 2 is people who fall out of tier 1. Okay, simple. Okay, that's easy to explain. I can explain that in 10 seconds to somebody. Great. So we have a system that can organize that. So because I have a system, I can also record myself doing the job. So when I go to hand this off to a virtual assistant, how easy is it for me to train a VA to do this? Well, great. I've done it. I've started, hey, This is what I do to pull a list. This is what I do to send my text message. This is what I respond to these people. Oh, there's a script you can follow. Perfect. Here's me doing it. Amazing. Now, when you get a lead, this is what you do with them. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. And in fact, the first week of June, you guys, we're starting a brand new challenge where we're building a business from scratch again, just like we did back in November for the paid group for everybody in the program. If you're in No Fluff Real Estate, don't matter which group you're in, you're going to be able to at least be able to participate for the first 3 days. So that comes June 2nd. And all I'm going to be doing is starting from scratch, teaching someone who's never done this before the exact process. Okay. So easy to implement, easy to train, easy to set up. Cool. And guess what? I've recorded me doing all this stuff. So I could probably just pass those recordings off and just ask questions on the back end to make sure they understand and comprehend exactly what I'm telling them to do. Now, after that, the next piece behind this, the next process that's easy to find someone to do is I'm calling. Guess what? There's a script for this call. Jennifer, when you were calling the leads and the one that you sent your contract out on, were you using the script on the second call? Were you using the second call script when you were calling your agents? Just yes or no in the chat. Or the second call flow chart, I guess I should say. Elmer says that's a lot of money. She goes, yes, sir. So how many times did you see me do the second call script? One time. One time. I said, I'll call this agent for you and I'll follow this flow chart and you'll see exactly how I say it. I did it once for you. And you're like, perfect, got it, easy enough. Okay. Simple, easy to implement. Yep, one time. And has it worked? Does it work for you? Have you had better conversations using it? And I know the answer is kind of rhetorical, but the reality is I formulate these scripts and these flows and stuff because I've done it a bunch. Okay. And that goes back to the first thing. So this system, easy, simple. Just say this, do that. This is your end result. Perfect. That's easy to scale because guess what? Don't know if you guys have seen Tracy on the daily call, especially if you guys are in the program. That is my stepfather. He has no real estate background of being able to do sales or close deals. He's no experience. But guess what? I had a flow chart for him to follow. I said, great, this is what's going to happen. VA is going to tee you up on some leads. I just need you to call, and this is the flow chart. Just say these things and follow this right here. The guys that got 3 contracts in a month, simply by just following those steps, okay? Easy to do. What he doesn't know how to do yet is how to underwrite and present the offer. So we're underwriting the deal for him. And then we tell him exactly what to go say to present the offer. And he's pretty much self-sufficient at this point, right? But I was able to give this to him and that's how I can scale myself out, right? So that's just one example of him coming in. My mom's like, you got to give him something to do. He's just sitting around the house, like he's cleaning out the pool. He's got his own bucket garden. He wanted to do his own thing anyways. He's like, I want to have my own thing. So I'm tired of having to, he wanted to do his own stuff. So he comes in, learns the script, starts implementing it. Boom. Okay. But that's what you have to have. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, just something that is easy to follow. Okay. So the challenge with like direct to seller marketing and doing direct to seller wholesaling is every conversation a little different. You feel like you need to take somebody through a sales course and this is business to business. Like literally like the conversations are almost robotic. I mean, I could almost have an inbound answering system to have these conversations with the agents. Pretty stinking straightforward. Okay. Easy, simple. That's what it's got to be. If you want something to scale, ideally you have a system that is optimized that then when you start placing people in it, there's no guesswork. It's just this is exactly what I need you to do. So many business owners get stuck right here, you guys, because they don't even know what they did to find success. They're like, oh, well, I did this and I did this out here and then boom, I made some money. How do you pass that off to somebody else? You can't. It's impossible to pass it off to somebody else. Okay. It needs to be straightforward, simple, goal outcome defined. You do this job. This is the KPIs we're looking at. If you hit these numbers, you do deals, you make money. And by the way we pay somebody in that role, every time a lead manager gets a deal closed, they get $1,000. If you have a salesperson, you're typically paying your salesperson who's closing the deal about 20%. But I'll tell you, in this model working with agents, your lead manager should be closing deals pretty quickly because with agents, they don't care about the small talk. The best way to build rapport with agents is knowing what you're talking about, right? You can be their best friend, but if your offer doesn't meet what the client needs, you're not going to do the deal. So it really just comes down to being good at making this initial call and being disciplined and calling those leads within 3 hours. Okay. Like those are the KPIs. That's how you scale yourself out of doing the sales, right? But what happens next? It's the same process over and over and over again. Okay. So you got to have a system to follow. If you guys know the agent model, there's another video all around the agent model. I'll let you go watch that to get more familiar with that. Okay. So that's that. That's having no operating system. If you guys are doing this, you have a very straightforward system. Very simple. Okay. The more that you can understand it, there is a direct correlation for what I've seen the people that I've worked with, the direct correlation with the people who understand the model, understand the system, understand what a good lead looks like, understand how to tag a lead, how to use it. There's a direct correlation with their comprehension on the system itself and the money they make. They get better at operating the system, they make more money. That's how it works, right? It's just like anything else. You get better at the thing, there's money at the end of the table by you getting better at it. It's the direct correlation. Okay. Now, past that. So now we've talked about removing yourself from the money making side. Okay. You do that by getting the skills and then recording everything you do, all within following a very simple model. Okay, I know I need to call this person within 3 hours. Great. Here's what I say. Here's how I say it. Here's a script. Okay. Now I'm understanding and learning how to underwrite deals. Perfect. Now I am, talking about how to negotiate deals, how to present offers. Perfect. I'm ready to give this off to somebody else. To be honest, in our agent model, typically the last thing you pass off to somebody is underwriting, because I, for the longest time, was the only person that was going to underwrite a deal and be like, yep, that's a deal. Yep, I like this number. Let's go get it at this number. That's typically the last thing you pass off. But you can spend an hour a day underwriting all of your deals for your lead manager, and that's a pretty good use of your time. You were going to do deals if the only thing you did was evaluate deals and say, yep, I like this one, and you help sell the deals on the back end at a disposition. The quickest way to remove yourself from that is just have a disposition partner that underwrites your deals and sells them for you. But that's another conversation. Okay. And that all comes down to using an operating system. And guess what? All of that I just talked about is on here, from sending offers, opening escrow, marketing to find buyers, holding to find inspections. That's a part of the entire process. Okay. But if you have an operating system that you're operating within, cool. You can innovate out of necessity within the model, but you don't need to reinvent the model. Okay. Now let's move over to the bottleneck around decisions and growth. Okay. Why does this happen? Right? Well, primarily because we feel like if we give this to somebody else, or we feel like, I don't even say this, like, I'll tell you my honest opinion. What reason why I had a tough time with this was because I felt like I was the business owner. No one's going to care as much as I do. And I have to be a leader. So I have to make all the decisions. People look to me to make all the decisions. Well, operating like that, you guys, I'll tell you, is a nightmare, because everybody's afraid to make a decision, and everybody but the smallest things, they will look to you for permission rather than just doing the thing, right? Even if it's like a simple yes or a no, they're going to come to you for permission before just doing it. And that is a nightmare to run your business. Nothing gets done. Okay. So in order to remove the bottleneck around decisions and growth is let people do their job of what they're supposed to do, what they were brought on to do, and give them the freedom and trust to say, I feel pretty good that you're going to do your job. And the way that you know that you feel like they're going to do a good job is because you've given them the job the right way in the first place. Okay. So you do this by properly delegating a task. Okay. Who here watched the delegation masterclass? Who here was able to participate in that? Because there's a simple acronym to follow. I got this from Cameron Harold. He's awesome. He's got a bunch of leadership books. This is a huge key. Guys, again, we're trying to build a business that doesn't need us. There's a difference behind delegation and abdication. When you abdicate something, you're just like, here's this thing. I'm just going to leave it here. Hopefully somebody does it. Hopefully somebody cares enough to do it. Oh, you don't care about the business? No one's going to care. You got to properly hand tasks off the right way. And I promise you, most people are good people. If you brought them through the right process, this is virtual assistants included. And when you go to hire somebody, maybe you go get 1099 help. Maybe it's a family member, friend, somebody from LinkedIn, somewhere you post on Instagram, wherever. You got someone coming into your business to help. You got to know exactly what you want them to do. And that's why having the system is important. And then knowing exactly what you want them to do, you need to follow DORAGI. Okay. You have to follow DORAGI. So who here knows what this acronym stands for? DORAGI. Who here knows what this stands for? Let me know. Well, I'll go ahead and tell you as you guys are figuring it out. So D in each one of these letters stands for something, right? So the first thing, if I have somebody coming in and I'm trying to remove myself from being the decision maker on all the things, and I want to empower people to make decisions around their specific job without having to come to me and ask for permission, I'm going to give you permission. I don't want to have to give you permission. You know what you need to do to be successful at your job. There is goal outcomes for each one of your jobs. When I go find somebody to come in and help, I know exactly what I need them to help on. I spent probably over $50,000. That was actually like probably $52,000 a month in overhead and monthly salaries when I was just trying to hire my friends and have people coming in and help me. I had no idea what I wanted their help on. I was like, oh yeah, more people. They're going to be able to help scale. Well, it was a nightmare. And ended up having to, what one of the worst things was? Having to take a team of like 20 people and dwindle it down to like 4 or 5, because I brought a bunch of people on And I didn't tell them, I didn't even know exactly what I needed their help on. I was like, yeah, I just want them in to come help. And it was a nightmare. And letting them go was even worse, right? So if you talk to my team, guys, Cynthia has been with me for almost 2 years. She's incredible. I know what exactly I need Cynthia to do on a daily basis. I know what I need Terrence to do on a daily basis. I know what I need my virtual assistants to do on a daily basis. And the funny thing is now our team is smaller than it's ever been. And we're making more money than we have ever made with like literally 5 people in comparison to like 22 and a $7,500 a month office. I won't even go there. But anyways, Duragi, okay? D stands for demonstrate, okay? So the first thing that I do is I demonstrate exactly what I want them to do. And what did I say over here? Oh, funny enough, I built with the end in mind. I can demonstrate exactly what I want you to do. I want you to come in and help me manage my leads. Well, this is exactly how we manage leads in the system, okay? And great thing is, I've already recorded it. So let me demonstrate with you real quick exactly what I need you to do. And sometimes the demonstration could be like a week of demonstration, however long it needs to take for them to fully understand what exactly that you need them to do. You first demonstrate the thing, okay? Esteban knows. He's going through Duragi. First demonstrate, okay? Now, the next step in the process is O. O is you observe. Sorry, if I can type. Okay, O is observe. So I've demonstrated me doing the thing. I've called. And this is the reason why as a leader, you got to get your repetitions in to be good at it. So then you know exactly what you need. Like I can listen to somebody on the phone and I can pick apart what I need them to exactly do. Maybe it's a small skill. Maybe I need them to smile a little bit. Maybe I need to care about the tone. But again, I'm not trying to do this on somebody doing the basic lead generation. I'm doing this with somebody who's like, this is a very key role. All right. So I'm observing them doing the thing that I want them to do. And maybe the observation is leaving notes in the CRM, tagging leads a certain way. Hey, where do you go with this situation? Hey, if this happens, then what? And you guys have heard me do this with VAs. Hey, if an agent says they don't have anything, what do you do? What's the next question do you ask? Okay, and then when they respond this, where do you do? What do you do with them in the system? Where do you tag them? Where do you put them? Okay, that's all in the demonstration phase. And then I want to observe them actually doing it. Because what happens every single time that you observe it is they don't do it right. So R stands for re-demonstrate, all right? Re-demonstrate. And this is where most people just forget about it because they demonstrate it, they show you what to do, and then they just let you go do it. And they observe the results and be like, this isn't what I wanted you to do. And then they're like, oh, the hire was the problem. I need to go hire somebody else. This person stunk. Hiring people never works. Or I just need to do this myself. I'm the only one that can do this. It's because you haven't followed the Duragi method, okay? So R stands for re-demonstrate. I have to do it, and then I have to observe them doing it, and then I need to re-demonstrate it again. Saying, hey, I like how you did this and this, but remember, do this. Remember, do that, right? And I might have to go back and forth between re-demonstration and observing, re-demonstration and observing, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth before I can move forward with the next step in the process, which is A, okay? And A means I'm going to assign a task. So now that I have watched them do and be proficient with the thing I want them to do, I'm now going to assign this to you. Hey, I want you to call 30 tier 1 agents today. Here's all of our leads that came in. I want you to call 30 of them. That's your task. Get through that as quick as you can. But at the same time, be diligent with the leads, leave good notes. You know what to do. This is your task. I'm going to assign you a task. Okay. So that's what A stands for in Duragi. And then from there, after I assign a task, I say, okay, of those 30, I want you to call these 30 agents. Okay. G stands for goal setting. I want to give them a goal. If you call 30 people, you're probably going to talk to like 5 or 6 people. From those 5 or 6 people, I want you to push 3 leads to me to underwrite, but I also want you to see if you can disqualify anything. I want you to see if you can find somebody that maybe isn't too motivated and bring them to me so I can double check. But that's the goal. I would like to at least have 3 good leads from these 30 people that I'm about to give you to call. Let's see what you can do. That's me setting the goal. All right. And then after I do that, after I set the goal, I then go back on the last step here is I inspect. I stands for inspect. Okay. I inspect the results. So after they've done the work, and this goes with anything, this go for sales, this can go for admin job, this can go for disposition, this can go for building buyers list, building, calling homeowners, doing agent outreach, anything. I'm going to inspect the results. Okay. Well, this is what I was expecting based on my knowledge and skill set and what I demonstrated to you and then re-demonstrated. This is kind of the numbers that I think we were shooting for in the goal. And this is the actual results. I'm not banking on them to be as good as me, but if they could just be at least 60% as good as what I could do, then it's worthwhile to hand this task off because they're going to have full time to dedicate to this. Maybe they have 8 hours a day to do this and I'm currently doing it for 2. Well, they have 4 times the amount of time to do the work. So if they're 50% as good as you, 50% as proficient, but they're working on it 4 times longer, do you think you're going to get better results? Probably. Okay. So in order to remove yourself from the bottleneck that is making the decisions in around growth, you have to make sure you delegate things properly and you give these things to the right people and you follow this process. You might have to demonstrate and observe, and it may take a week out of your life that you're never going to get back, 2 weeks out of your life, a month out of your life that you'll never get back, but eventually you'll be able to get it all back. Because if you are solving the same problems in your business next year, then you have basically wasted a year. You do however long it takes to be able to get this off your plate. But depending on where you're at, if you are brand new, you might be in phase 1 behind that. Phase 1 is getting the repetitions in to build the skill and build the knowledge to be able to document everything, to be able to hand this off to somebody. If your business is not making any money yet, you do not give them you do not give the money-making activity to somebody else. You get good at it first. Otherwise, your business is going to be very inconsistent and you're going to be very sad. The thing that I will give off is ASAP to somebody else is something that doesn't directly bring me money, but is important that it gets done, which is lead generation. I need somebody manning that side of it. When I first brought on a VA while I was door knocking, I saw it as, hey, I got 40 more hours now. I got another VA. I now have 40 more hours. I have 80 hours. I'm competing against people who are by themselves trying to work real estate part-time. You work in your real estate business an hour a day. I have basically, that you're working on your business 5-6 hours a week. I'm working on my business 120 hours, 140 hours a week, right? Whatever that saying is, however many hours at 10,000 hours for mastery or something, 100,000, whatever the number is. Well, I'm getting there a heck of a lot faster than somebody who's working on their business but 5-6 hours a day. 5 or 6 hours a week, simply because I was able to hire somebody and pay them $4 an hour to be able to get there faster. But in the beginning, if you can't afford to do that, then you have to do whatever you can do. You do the lead generation, you get your repetitions in here, but that should not be how it always is. And you have to realize that, hey, this is just a season where I'm at, but I'm building with the end in mind and I'm recording everything along the way, because as soon as I can afford it, and I'm going to put somebody into position to help me with leads, so that way I can just focus on getting more repetitions on probably the most important job in the real estate investing business, which is getting good at negotiating deals. And then once you have the money and you have the deals and you have the proof that you know what you're doing and you've made money doing it, then you can go find somebody to replace you. And that's how you scale yourself out of this business. Does that make sense, you guys? Let's go. So this was recorded. This flow chart I'll be pairing this up with the masterclass, and I'll be putting this in the masterclass pass after everything is said and done. If you guys have any questions, hopefully you got value from this masterclass today and you guys are able to implement some of this stuff immediately. The game plan for you today should be to figure out where you're at in your phase. What can you do today? Are you in the phase where you're just about getting repetitions? That's okay. For the next 90 days, your goal should be, I need to get as many repetitions as I can get week to week, month to month. And I'm going to record everything along the way. The Fathom Note Taker is a hack for you guys. Everything should be recorded. And if you're making phone calls, Fathom records Zoom calls and it records Google Meets. What you do is you turn Fathom on, you open up a Google Meet and you select record while you're calling people on your computer or on your cell phone, but have that recorded on your computer while you're doing it, while you're at your desk. So that way Fathom can listen in and it's going to take notes. It's going to be like, oh, Matt called John. John's main concern about this property was this, this, and this. This was the action items. This is exactly what happened. It's going to take the notes for you. Okay. So that's your game plan for the next 90 days. And as you guys go to scale, I got your back, whatever I can help with. If that's finding talent, if that's pairing you up with a team leader to help you get there faster, if that's helping you sell your deals nationwide because you want to be paired up with maybe somebody on disposition, I have plenty of people that can help you guys do your deals. I want to see everybody in here be super successful in real estate in 2025 and the years to come. And I want y'all to be able to build the business that you want to build around your lifestyle, not the other way around. So the replay for this, Omar, you can use the raw link to go back and watch the recording again. We will be chopping this up and making it a little bit smaller for everybody. And it will go into the masterclass pass in the school community over at school.com/no fluff real estate. So I appreciate everybody for watching. Hopefully this is super valuable. If you do like this stuff, please go over into the school community. We've seen not a lot of activity over the last couple of weeks. I would love for you guys to go to school right now and go post what you learned in today's masterclass and what you plan to implement over the next month. Let me know what you think. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching this edition of Masterclass. This recording will be available very soon. Appreciate y'all. Hope you have a great day. Okay. We'll talk soon. Bye.